How are you doing? Genuinely. I think there's some really important things to think about moving forward because this week has been absolutely exhausted. If you've been paying attention, you are probably absolutely brain dead between every single executive disorder, that's what we're going to call them, executive disorders, and the conversation around it. It is exhausting to be in the world these days and also managing your work, your mental health, etc. And so I wanted to really talk about three things today. One is the 3.5% rule, which ties into the second one, which is a incredible thinker called Erica Chenoweth. And then three is this, the three finger salute. Erica Chenoweth shared her findings with her research institute that essentially it takes 3.5% of a population actively participating in protests in order to bring about serious political change. And she viewed so many different nonviolent protests and violent protests and basically looked at it as that there's a critical amount of visible mass that needs to be seen in order to make change. So some of the examples, for example, is like in 1986, millions of Filipinos took the streets of Manila in peaceful protest and prayer in the People Power movement. The Marcos regime folded on the fourth day. This was that amount of change. And I've been talking about this since she came out. I think it was a first initial BBC article like back in 2018, 2019. And I think that it's really important to remember as a lot of our social networks, especially just from TikTok, I think what we're at is like we're in that moment in some type of meeting. Maybe it was like something in college where you were meeting other people on your freshman year and you're in a group and the senior who's there, you know, welcoming everybody says, hey, okay, so who wants to get us started? That's it. That's the moment where everybody's kind of waiting for the first person to raise their hand and introduce themselves. I think that's at the point that we're at because we're completely inundated and I'm very afraid that we're becoming deer in headlights. But this is okay. We knew what their plan was. It was a 900-page report of the 2025 agenda. And I think right now we're just coming to this moment where we are really figuring out how we're going to organize. I think that the 3.5 minority rule is really important because it's actually not a lot of people. And so Erica Chenoweth is one person that I definitely like to point people to because I think that she has a really multidisciplinary perspective in the way that she formulates her research because she's not within one particular discipline. And so that is the second recommendation. And then the third is something that I spoke about today in short form on TikTok. And one thing that I saw was people talking about winter boots because there's a viral video of where DJ T basically was saying on record about having essentially stolen the election. And it was a video where has the little headline of winter boots. And so now everybody's using the term winter boots if you don't know that. And I wanted to share the thing that always sticks in my mind about how the Thai people, after the military coup, adopted the three-finger salute, which makes this perfect for number 3. The three-finger salute from the Hunger Games. Basically, this became a mobilizing tactic to the point where the military actually banned the three-finger salute. In Myanmar, they also took up the three-finger salute. So it became this kind of regional symbol of like class solidarity. And I think that it needs to make its way back to us. American movie, American book. It's like this very interesting international symbol of resistance. And this, Miley Cyrus's favorite pose for I feel like half a decade. I don't know why whenever the peace sign comes up, I think of Spice Girls, and then I also think of Miley Cyrus. But of course, this means peace. And so this is the third one. This is change. And I was researching actually today a little bit more about the French Revolution because one of my first YouTube videos I ever made was in middle school, and it was for my French class, and we had to do a project, and I did mine on the French Revolution. And we had like this whole skit about two people meeting, trying to discuss their plans. And actually one of the things that I learned is that some of the ways that they communicated with each other were inside of matchbooks. So they would actually write their plans inside of matchbooks so you could have the match and you could literally like burn the whole thing away. And I was going back through, I was wondering, like, what was there any symbolism in during the French Revolution that was like really popular? I looked at certain things. One was about dress. This is kind of interesting given the fashion about quiet luxury, because quiet luxury is really emulating a very particular class, right? and how people now are trying to emulate quiet luxury. But in fact, during the French Revolution, obviously there were very big signifiers in terms of fabrics that were really important at that like upper echelon of society they're rebelling against, and they decided to completely go extremely working class in terms of their sense of style. And I wonder what that looks like for us, because it's interesting that some of the signifiers of quiet luxury are like the LL Bean tote bag, which is, you know, well, this is how we're interpreting certain parts of quiet luxury, but, you know, Laura Piana summer walks, like very simple clothing from a particular brand that has that signifier to the class that it's in, and what that would look like today in terms of dressing as a sense of distancing ourselves from a different level of class. Something to think about. I was looking at some additional very interesting French Revolution symbols, and one of them was the volcano. And there are quite a few French literature scholars who have looked at the symbolism and how the volcano was written about at that time, as it sort of became this collective creative symbol for what was happening, and how they were also understanding that the volcano brought about immense amounts of power and change, but at the same time it brings about destruction. And I think that this is where, when speaking at this particular time, like everybody can't do the same thing, and I think that everybody, like I said in the last video, it's like a potluck. We all have to bring what we're best at, and you know, some of us have the physical energy to be there, to kind of put our bodies on the line in some ways, and then some people are really good at building infrastructure and the next steps of that. And I think that also needs to happen, because while we are challenging existing structures in how they look today, we also need the people who are able to imagine a way forward and what that looks like, and being able to put that in practical steps. As somebody that has worked in a variety of different operational capacities in so many different industries, I think that visions are really great, but I, at my core, am like quite a practical person. It might be the tism. I'm like, yes, I get your vision, but let's figure out how to make that happen. I think this is going to be my hyper focus for the next couple weeks as a way of processing the year we're having and the year we're about to have. Something else that's kind of fun and random, because sometimes we do need a bit of a palate cleanser. I have to say that my interactions with people on Xiaohongshu, on RedNote, are incredibly positive and warm. I think that that's one thing that's super interesting that makes my heart feel good, is watching interactions of people that have left TikTok and are now on RedNote and are like learning some of the kind of really basic parts of like Chinese herbal medicine, or how women treat their periods. And for one that I'm quite passionate about is the sitting period, which is part of Chinese postpartum care. And I think that it's just so eye-opening, because it's a platform that's like 70% women, and having other women on that platform and connecting is something that's so beautiful. So that's something that's actually been warming my heart, because I think that it's important to remember the types of connections that are being made right now. Connections in the sense of people, but also connections in the sense of everything in the world and how it all fits together. Because I saw a really great quote on Substack. Let me find it. The quote was, "Sometimes I don't feel like writing because everything is connected and I can't get into all that right now." And I have never felt anything so strongly. So let me know what you're researching. I want to know how you're feeling, and let's talk soon.